Well, Joe McLeod, thank you so much. Welcome back to Kingston.
Thanks for having me. It's so good to be here.
Just finishing up a tour of Europe and Japan.
Yeah.
What was that like for an artist who started their career in Kingston?
It's kind of surreal. You don't I never, it would have been a dream to go to these places, but I never would have thought I would get there. And it's funny because I found a sticky note that I wrote myself in 2017, which was kind of around the time when I was like, yeah, I think I can be a musician professionally. I was already gigging in Kingston and stuff. I was like, I think I could do this. And out of all the things on this sticky note, it was a 10-year goal list. And the only thing that I had written that I had not checked off, there's two things. It was open for Dan Mangan and play in Europe and Asia. And to check that last one off and be like, wow, it's kind of crazy to see the trajectory of I wouldn't have felt supported if I wasn't here in this scene, because where I'm originally from in Keswick, there's no professional scene like that. And in Toronto, I would have felt like such a small fish in this huge ocean. Yeah. Where here, it's even if you're a small fish, people support you.
But tell us about the spring tour that you're on that's brought you back here to Kingston.
Yeah, well, this was so I knew going to Europe and Japan that I was going to be pretty homesick after this tour. And I love exploring the world, feel very fortunate, but I knew I was going to be homesick. So the two things I wanted to do, or I guess the three things, I wanted to do a tour of some of my favorite cities in Ontario, Quebec. I wanted to bring along acts that I considered dear and old friends. And I wanted to bring along a crew of my band that's kind of the original guys. So this band that's on this tour is the band that I used to tour with pre-COVID when I was based in Kingston, which is really cool for us all to be back here because everybody's kind of moved away. And then to have Oak Ridge Ave on for all three shows is a blessing because those guys, A, are one of the best live bands I've ever seen, and B, we all came up in the same era. So it just feels really cool to be kind of back home with such a feeling of community and feeling welcomed and kind of having old friends and feeling like old times,
Yeah, for your show here in Kingston on April 5th at the Mansion.
Yeah.
Again, you'll be joined by Oak Ridge Avenue.
Yeah.
I know you've got a connection to the band. You just mentioned that connection.
Yeah.
Tell us about that connection. How far back does that go? Where does that come from?
Yeah, it goes back quite a ways. Alex Amy, which was Oak Ridge's old bass player, we used to meet at the Toucan for a Guinness or a beer and a meal, and we would sit there with our MacBooks and be like, okay, where can we play and where can we tour and how can we play this new city even though we both don't have an audience there, and just would brainstorm together. And
you were probably playing the Toucan the same time that they were. As a three-piece.
Yeah, exactly that. It's kind of crazy to think of that, and now to see all the different venues we're playing and when we cross paths, and the fact that we could do this run of shows together after all that time, that was probably 2016 or 2017 at that time. Probably 2017 or 18. I don't know when Oak Ridge formed, but before that, Alex was in a band called Georgia Straits. I think it was Georgia Straits. It could be now it's so long ago. But planning stuff together with them, it's crazy how time flies.
Well, so you've played to Kingston audiences dozens and dozens and dozens of time in your career, built your career here, arguably. But what makes this time different for you?
I think this time is different because I guess first of all, it's my first time back since post-pandemic. So it feels like a long time has passed, and I guess physically a long time has passed. So I think coming back after all this time, getting to reunite kind of in a venue that I'm comfortable with, a band that I love, and getting to see this exact thing that's happening right here. I didn't know if I would even be remembered by anybody in Kingston because it's been 4 or 5 years since COVID.
Who is Joe McLeod?
Yeah, exactly. So the fact that as soon as Kingston Live has always been so supportive, but setting this up, it's and seeing the pre-sales of it's wow, okay, people are showing up, and it feels good to be back here, and it just feels special,
We don't let our artists get too far before we try to drag them back.
Which is that's such a privilege,
But since your time here in Kingston, in what ways have you grown or changed as an artist, or maybe even as a human being?
Yeah, I've grown a lot. So when I left Kingston, I moved home because my dad's health wasn't doing great, and a few months later, my dad passed away, and that was a few months before the first lockdown. So I think emotionally, my maturity, intellectually, emotionally, kind of went through the roof, and because of that, when I left Kingston, I only really had a few songs out online because I was gigging for so long, but I'd only kind of shifted into recording, and being gone, having these kind of traumatic things happen. Now I've got 2 records of what I think are some of the most honest, authentic reflections of who I am, and I don't think I would have been able to express those things if I hadn't gone through those changes. So again, to be back in this place where I built my career and to some degree had rose-colored glasses on for the world, it's kind of cool to be back here after going through that with some old friends and kind of have those glasses back on, being oh right, this is a special place to be, you know?
Well, let's talk about your career, because since launching your career here in Kingston, you've got some pretty enviable milestone accomplishments, I will have to say. You know, in my mind, anyways. But can you tell us about some of those accomplishments that you're the most proud of?
Yeah, I think the most recent one that comes to mind is I played the TD Hall at Massey Hall in Toronto, which is like, you know, growing up, I think anywhere in Canada, but specifically kind of around these parts, like Massey Hall is like the epitome of Canadiana music. So getting to play even, you know, in that vicinity was really special. I think that the fact that I've got 2 records out, you know, like, again, like when I was starting here, I never in a million years would have thought I could sign a record deal. It's like having a record label support this latest release is like, what? How did that happen? It's like those things, play in different shows. Europe, Japan is definitely huge. Like getting to go overseas and like have people, you know your music or know who you are and like sing your words and they don't even really know your language. It's like, that's what I would, you know, that's like when I hear an artist that I love, like it really kind of melts my heart, because like I'll hear like a Dan Mangan song and I'll want to cry because I have such a fond connection to him and I feel so lucky that he plays where I am, you know. And it's like the fact that there's certain people in Japan that like I could play a concert that like they probably never in a million years thought they would ever hear that live, and like I just think it's cool that I could share a moment with somebody like that. Like that's special, you know.
So you're back in Kingston tonight for a show with Oak Ridge Avenue at the Mansion. You know, many people here in Kingston may have seen you play live before. Yeah. But, you know, that was Joe McLeod before. Yeah. If you had to tell them something to get them out to the Mansion tonight or to one of your future shows that you're going to play in Kingston, because we know you're going to be back. Oh, yeah. What might you say to them to get them come out and see you again? Yeah, well, I think I play solo and I play with a band. So that's first distinction. But in general, like the thing that I like to kind of think about myself and my own music is like I really love powerhouse ballads of energetic, melodic, just kind of triumphant moments. And I like really intimate storytelling and talking about, like, I've been really fortunate to travel this country and go up to the Arctic and, again, travel Europe and the States. And I like to tell stories of those experiences. So I think if you like storytelling and if you like melodic, catchy music, that's kind of number one. This show tonight is with the OG band, so there's going to be a little bit more jamming than maybe normal. And, like, it's crazy to see where everyone's gone now. And, like, you know, Joseph last night was playing at Massey Hall. Wow. And it's like, it's crazy to think of like where everyone is and where we, you know, the fact that everyone was so excited to make this run a thing, because playing together is just like effortless, you know, like, and the jams especially, like back in the day, I used to do a lot more like audible, like, let's just like, we're going to be quiet here and Joseph, you go, and we're going to do a little bit more of that tonight, which is exciting. And I think in the future, that's always a part of the show to some degree, but lots of sing-alongs too. I like getting people involved. Joe, thanks so much for being our guest today. Thanks for having me. Where can our viewers find and follow you online? Yeah, Joe McLeod Music on any social media, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, X, and joemcleodmusic.com for any like, you know, tour dates, merchandise, anything like that. And yeah, probably social media is the most up-to-date place. Yeah. Oh man, thanks so much. Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it. Good luck with your show tonight. Cheers.